Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Levinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace. He's got a real great topic this evening, so you want to stay tuned to that topic. It's a good one. We always begin every evening with 10 seconds of gratitude. So think of 3 things today that you are grateful for. Go. It's really hard to be unhappy when you're grateful. 3 things that you're grateful for. 10 seconds of gratitude. All right. What I wanted to talk about this evening, something really simple, but people forget it. And in an interviewing situation, little things matter. Had 3 candidates go on an interview yesterday, the same employer. 3 equally pretty qualified candidates, darn good candidates. One candidate follows the instructions and goes into the interview and takes notes and has real good, solid questions for the employer. The other 2 candidates don't take notes. One of them had good, solid questions for the employer. They were good. The other one, third one, probably the best candidate of the whole group, didn't have very many questions for the employer at all. That shows just not thinking. You always got to have questions. First candidate took notes. And then when it came time to ask questions, he referred back to his notes about what the employer had said to him. And it was real simple. He really looked like he knew what he was doing. He just take notes and he took notes. And when he had questions about what the employer was saying, he qualified those questions. He qualified the notes. When he didn't understand what the employer said, when it wasn't clear, he said, "Now, I don't understand exactly what you mean by that." It really sounded like he knew what he was talking about. So when he questioned it, when he didn't understand, he asked. Brilliant. When you don't understand, you better ask. Simple enough. Sounded like he really knew it. And the employer basically said the same thing to all 3 candidates. Now, the second candidate did not understand some of the questions or some of the facts that the employer was talking about. And he did ask questions about it, but he didn't take notes. Whether or not he remembered it, I don't know. He didn't seem, neither of the latter 2 candidates seemed all that perceptive about the interview, about what they were doing. And it's simply because they weren't taking notes. And then when it came time to ask questions, the first candidate pulled out a sheet of questions he had already written out for the employer about what was going on. And he went right down. He only got 3 of them asked. He had 10 of them ready, but he only had 3 of them asked. 3 of them, the employer was just impressed that the candidate had prepared questions. Now, the second candidate had questions, but he didn't have them written out. Just didn't look like he had planned all that well. Just the idea that you take notes and you have written out questions makes all the difference in the world. It makes like you really know what you're doing. It's so simple to do. And yet the third candidate, probably, like I say, the best qualified of the three, didn't do any of those things and probably wasn't, well, it's not going to be considered. The employer said he might have him back just to be sure, but he didn't feel like that the third candidate was as prepared as the other two candidates were. And nobody was as prepared as the first candidate was. Simply taking notes and having questions. When you have written questions out, it shows you put some thought into the thing. Even if you end up having some questions about what the employer talked about in the interview, that shows some thought too. It's so easy to do. And so many people just don't do it. It's basic 101. So think about that. Take notes and ask good questions. All right. This is Tony Bashir with Job Search Solutions. Stay tuned.